Um, so we're going live here.
Okay.
The iRacers Lounge is going to go live in a sec here. Um, and we got just
User in
doing
your
some
channel
some.
started
Here we
recording.
go.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters Chris Scales,
Hey, Mike.
David Hall returning,
Hello.
Gregory Hectus,
Yo yo yo.
Tony Gibson.
Actually, that's Groves, but good
That is
evening.
so funny. Tony Groves, Will Gibson. Who's Tony Groves? Oh, that's the crew chief, right? Tony Gibson?
Grow up. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Tony Groves. And finally, back is again Will Gibson. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Blah, 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 blah. It's one of those days. Let's jump right into it. First of all, iRacers Lounge is sponsored by, or sponsors, the Old Bastards Racing League ARCA series on Monday. And we got now a two-time winner. Steve Thompson wins again, led the most laps, and with the last lap of restart, captured his second win in a row, with Mike Schrader finishing second, Joel Kilburn third. John Hastings won the Hard Charger Award, gaining 19 spots, finishing fifth. And ARCA professional driver Kevin Pearson is actually leading the iRacers Lounge championship point standings for the ARCA iRacers Lounge podcast series. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to race that one. I think Tony, you did, didn't you? Didn't you call the caution?
um, no, actually, I did
That
not
was the week
this
before.
time. That was the week before.
I didn't
but,
want to be the only one this week that caused a caution in one of their races. That sucks.
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit more in our party section of our mullet style. But
Same here.
yeah, I was there. I was definitely there. It was a good race.
All right. So check them out. Let's jump right into the topics. Greg, you're up first.
So I guess they had another hot fix this week. I guess they're still fixing some issues here. So I guess it's what, the fifth hot fix for season 4. Um, they have a couple quick fixes. I guess they fixed the issue, physics causing the cars to pitch and roll. I guess that was from the screenshot we saw last week.
Right, where they were digging into the banking.
Yeah, and I guess some audio clips. I know some of the teammates were saying there were some crash sounds that weren't actually any crashing going on, so that would get maybe that was some of the audio improvements. And some setups for the trucks and K&N cars were added as well. So it was just a quick fix. I know this guys were trying to get on and testing, and it was down for what was it, Tuesday?
Yeah.
So
All right. All right, Will, you're up next.
Yeah, we got a video this week on iRacing's YouTube channel. It was actually called Tech Talk with Clint Boyer Racing, and iRacing Steve Reese sat down with Anthony Burrows. I hope I pronounced that right. It was actually a really good 20-minute interview. They talked all things about dirt late model racing. They talked about the logistics and the cost of racing a dirt late model, along with a lot of the components on the car, how they work, how setups work, and change through an event. So if you're into any kind of dirt racing, especially the dirt late models, there's a ton of good information in there that you can really kind of work your way through and get some good stuff out of it.
Oh, yeah. I actually watched all of this because it was just fascinating. Them talking about how to set up a dirt car and the physics behind it, why we are doing it, how does it affect the car, what does it mean to get on the bars and get off the bars. There's all this terminology and different things. And what's so neat about when I watched the video was they're not talking specifically about the real dirt car or the iRacing dirt car because they literally are the same thing. When they talk about the setup, they're talking about you can change it on the iRacing side and it does the same thing as the real side. So it's kind of neat to see how it just all blends together.
Yeah, they would have little pop-ups during the video where he'd be talking about, camber or something, and they'd pop up and show him changing the camber in the sim. And a couple other adjustments I had never even heard of. Even being a dirt late model fan, those cars are crazy. I had no clue. And I thought I have
any idea how to set up a stock car, but I know a little bit what's going on. Those dirt cars, man, he was talking like another language. It was nuts.
Yeah, and it also you get to know a little bit more about Steve Reese, who's one of the superstars that works over at iRacing that really makes these cars work and develops the chassis and the setups and how the physics of the car work. And it's interesting getting his perspective too, and some of the questions that he was asking. Anthony Burroughs about who was the crew chief on that car, and obviously Anthony is very well versed in how these dirt cars work.
Yeah, a lot of what they talked about, I feel in the sim. A couple times they talked about if the car is tight, is it because it has too much traction? Is it because the car itself's tight? Because a lot of times you'll feel something in that late model because of the way it's up on the bar. Is it the back end steering wrong? Is it the springs? Like, what's causing it? And they talked a lot about that. So I'm definitely going to want to go back and rewatch that 2 or 3 more times and try to pick up on stuff because that is probably one of the most difficult cars to set up on dirt at the moment.
Yeah, that's the iRacing YouTube channel, guys. So check it out if you're interested.
Samantha Malone,
All right, Chris, you're next.
Racing.
Yeah, next, for the podcast, John Hammer posted some stats on the average incidents per start in NIS. And it's pretty interesting because it's been pretty consistent over the last few years until this year. So 2015, fixed average was 6.2, open 6. 2016, fixed was 6.1, open was 5.8. 2017, 6.1, open 5.7. So all those are pretty much the same. And then in 2018, fixes at a 7.6 and opens at a 6.9.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot when it's percent and a half, and when it's that consistent over the years, and then you see that spike. Can you think of any explanation for that? And do you think maybe when we get this new damage model and we see fewer of these ghost 4Xs and stuff like that, if we'll see those numbers go down?
Well, it's got to probably do with the amount of numbers going up per year too. Like they've had an extra amount of people on the sim too, right? So there's more splits. I don't know what the numbers are compared to participation from the years before either, right?
Well, the average numbers is going to be set whether you have fewer people or less people. You're dividing by the number of people. There's people that are racing the NIS like it's a 20 lap, sprint race or final heat. There's just no patience from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, holy cow! We'll talk about that later, Hectus. Yeah, we saw some of that in our race this
Yeah.
afternoon. Damn.
Well, not only that, the cars are different this year. They've totally changed how the cars are on the track, so they're a lot harder to drive now than they were
Well,
previous
that's
years.
it right there. Tony found out the answer right there.
Yeah, but they're
That's
not
it.
any different than back, I know the NIS is a little bit different from what it's been previously, but when they didn't have a tire model, these cars were a lot worse than they are right now waiting for a tire model. Well, the tire models we got.
Okay, but if you look, the spread is
Within point
kind of
one
the same. Yeah.
for 3 years, and then it jumps 100% in 1 year. So just from 2017 to 2018, there was a big jump. That's what the numbers show. What changed? Well, like you said, the car changed. We had a little bit more population, but not much, to tell you the truth.
So maybe it's just to the car and the driving attitudes in general.
That's part of it too. I think it's a multi-answer to the question, But I think it's the car. I think it's more people. I think a little bit more participation, and just more incidents. I feel personally I've had more incidents this year than last year.
Sorry guys, what I've noticed between like last year and this year, now I've been bottom split the whole time, and this year I could count on one hand easily the amount of long runs that I've had, like green flag pit stops. They're an absolute rarity. Last year, I actually had quite a few throughout the races. But this year, yeah, I'd struggle to be able to pick out what races I actually was able to do that in.
Do you? I would ask Mike. Do you feel participation's gotten better? From what I hear, it seems like participation's gone down over the years, which would mean less splits, meaning more people are packed together in these events. I don't know what your
Yeah.
thought on that is.
Yeah, I think it has gone down, even though overall iRacing has gone up because of dirt and other things. I think NIS has gone down consistently.
Well, look at the
Yeah.
last probably, I would say 6 weeks. Thursdays used to have like 4 or 5 splits. We're struggling to get 2 complete splits now on Thursdays at least. I don't know what it's like on Wednesday nights for like the open races.
Yeah, here deep in the season, Daytona is different. We had the biggest Daytona 500 ever this year with the amount of people that ran. I think it was 700 or 800 or more. But nowadays, when we're way deep in the season, I mean, yeah, we are lower than we were last year, I think.
I think a lot of people are pretty frustrated with how caution festy it's been all year. Plus, there's getting to be almost a perpetuating feedback loop where you start having a long run or so many short runs that nobody feels like they can be patient. So everybody is constantly trying to win on lap 3 of a run.
And that's one of the things we'll talk about in our race too. There was some problems with that in our race earlier too.
I see a lot of races too where people will take no tires at the end after probably one of the longest runs they get, and that seems to cause a lot of issues as well. Um, I don't want to say it's impatience, but if you know you can't start with old tires, why are you trying to start with old tires? And there's probably in an average race maybe a couple guys that could do it, but you get 4 or 5 guys up there with old tires at the end of a race. People are impatient in the back. I feel like that definitely snowballs it too.
Yeah, you really need to be able to be somebody who's been close to being able to run in the front of that field for it to pay off. It's paid off for me a few times when I knew, it was only being a 1 or 2 lap shootout, and I've stolen wins that way. But I usually am pretty good about not spinning out. So if you got somebody who's been running 20th place all the time and then they take no tires, it's going to be a moving chicane or a spin the tires.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, the numbers don't lie. All right, moving on. Roval news and highlights. Lots of discussion about the Roval. We're not going to be running it. We're running the Oval, obviously, not the Roval. And we had Alex Labby, who's a Xfinity driver, posted up a video of him at the iRacing headquarters on one of their rigs. They got a room there set up with like 4 different rigs, and it shows him going around the track, trying to learn the track and hit his marks and that kind of thing. Christopher Bell also tweeted that he was using iRacing for testing at the track as well. And then Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle actually showed it on the NBC NASCAR America TV show this week. Parker set fastest lap after Landon wrecked out at the final chicane on his lap. And then also Justin Allgaier posted up Instagram video of him running laps on the iRacing version of the Roval. Tyler Hudson did post that in the forums that we will get the track in the December release.
It's good to hear. I was watching some of those videos. That track's obviously going to be able to be. We could probably in the next season can use it in probably like Indy cars and stuff could go around that track too. I don't know. It just sucks because we're going to miss out on driving it when it's actually happening.
I don't think there's going to be good racing at this track. You're not going to have a good race. You're going to see a lot of carnage and destruction, and it'll be a survival fest.
I think it'll be. Yeah, I think that has a lot of potential to happen. I think if you compare it to Sonoma and Watkins Glen, I think Sonoma you have to be really patient, and Watkins Glen has a lot of room for speed. This track kind of has the best of both. I think you have the high speed on the oval half, and then you have that low speed, a lot of elevation change and off-camber turns in the infield. I think it'll be different than anything we've had. I think there's a lot of potential for good racing, but it's going to be not like either one. It's going to be a very unique experience for sure.
All right. Well, we'll run it next year, I guess. All right, Greg, you're next.
All right, so the next one here is a post or a YouTuber, Matt Malone, who's someone I follow, and his wife as well, Samantha Malone. He was talking about how iRacing wants him to, he's going to live stream Petite Le Mans to, as a promotion for iRacing to promote the Mazda hot lap challenge. So I mean that's a good thing for Matt. It's a good thing for iRacing because Matt's pretty good endorser of iRacing on his channels. I usually watch whatever he posts up whenever it's on. He's a huge road course racer and he loves the Mazdas when he's actually on. So
Yeah, pretty cool that they got him involved. That's a neat idea. And I can't think of a better person, really. All right, Will, what's next?
So looks like we have another issue with Knoxville. There seems to be a bug with scoring. So if you're starting in the 15th or 16th place, you can actually get a black flag for passing the pace truck, even though the race is going green. So Tyler Hudson said they are going to have it fixed by next patch. No time frame on that patch. So if you're running Knoxville, you definitely want to get that qualifying lap in and not start towards the back.
That is a weird bug.
They last update they moved the start finish line because where it was recording the lap and where the flag stand was two different locations. I think this is just kind of some residual from that update.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes some sense.
Maybe don't race official Knoxville until that's addressed, would be my guess. All right, Chris, you're next.
Yeah, next is a post by iRacing. They posted a video to its YouTube page where you ride on board with Diego Catalan and Dream Factory Racing as Diego navigates lap 1 at Monza in the iRacing VRS GT World Championship Series. I probably pronounced his name wrong, but man, that is a cool video. You want to? There's people that argue, whether NISs start 2 wide or 1 wide, because we can't handle the 2 wide restarts. Man, these guys are going like 4 or 5 wide on the start of this race. Yeah, and filtering down into turn 1 is ridiculous. I didn't see anybody touch anybody.
It's 50 cars taking the start, and that's what's amazing. If you look at the 27-second mark of this, and you can see all of them bearing down to turn 1, and it's just insane that they all get through there without wrecking.
Yeah, it gave me a headache watching it. I couldn't imagine being in the middle of that.
anybody notice that? Obviously, wherever rendered this is an awesome system because the graphics are turned up to like 11 right now. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, this is an iRacing produced video, so this is on their YouTube channel. Check it out if you're interested, but it's just cool to see 50 cars taking the start. I thought that was a neat video. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about our special event, which is next week, which is Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on October 3rd. And it's called the Beat the Hell Out of Cancer 250. And it's to raise money for Chris Scale's wife, Samantha, who's going through her 4th round of fighting cancer. And so it's been going pretty good, getting everyone signed up, Greg. And we have a few slots left to fill, but we have a good turnout so far.
Yeah, it's turning out pretty good. If anybody's still interested, we still got some room here, and we'd like to try and fill it up as much as we can because a race at Daytona with a full field would be an awesome race, and it would really help out Samantha and Chris. And it's starting to look like a really good race. We tested Hammer's setup last Thursday, and his ideas on it seem to be it might mix well for some good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did some more social media posting and got a few more people signed up, and we just need a few more. So if you guys want to get involved, please do. It's a $25 buy-in. And I think what everyone forgets about this event, of course, every dollar goes to Samantha for her help with cancer. And what she's trying to do is get moved back to where her family is so they can help her. But that $25 buy-in gets you into the race, but there's a bunch of prizes, and we were really talking about that. Max Pappas wheel, it's over $100 value. You get to pick which one. That's for the winner. Second and third place get a $25 Max Pappas gift card. And then stage winners get a Papa John's gift card, it's $25. And then there's other prizes like hats and the Mystery Award, which is probably something for your woman. And so lots of different things you can win just by participating in the race. So even if you're not going to win, you could win one of the other items that are going to be up for grabs. It's going to be broadcasted by Rudy Cummings, the godfather of broadcasting iRacing. I worked with Rudy a long time ago back in the day, and we're going to be over there on Max Speed TV. So I want everybody to tune in and watch on Wednesday night as well if you're not going to be participating. Now, to get entered, how do we do that, Greg? We go to GoFundMe and we search the words Samantha Marie Round 4. Samantha Marie Round 4. The very first entry you find is the one you donate at least $25 to. And then you email Greg at, Greg?
Frozen Cactus, frozen with 2 O's, cactus with 2 K's, at gmail.com. And
that's it.
Yep.
It's that simple. And so just send an email, and then Greg will notify you about the details, how to get on the Max Speed TeamSpeak. We want you on there because the broadcast team might want to talk to the drivers and that kind of thing. And we can also coordinate, giving out all these fantastic prizes. Anything else? Chris, I guess give us a personal update about how it's going with this round 4.
It's a little rough to start off. She's doing okay. It's just she's in a lot of pain. So basically, what the treatment consists of is she'll have like this last Thursday she had chemo, and then the following week she has to go in every day to get these shots that are supposed to keep her immune system, white cell count up, because chemo destroys your immune system. And typically these shots just cause some aches and pains, but for her these shots have been causing just unimaginable pain. Like it's pretty much like she feels like she's being crushed. And it's pretty much the beginning of the week. That's why I missed a podcast a couple weeks ago, and she was actually planning on being on tonight, and the pain's actually starting to go away some, but she hasn't really slept in a few days, so she just she's out of it.
All right. Well, and the good news is when you go to the GoFundMe, it's more than doubled, guys, since we started this effort. So it's already been a huge success, more than I thought it was going to be. And we appreciate everyone who has donated to the GoFundMe, including, Greg, we heard from a listener of the podcast that couldn't make it to the race but decided to donate anyway.
Yeah, he personally messaged me and said he was donating, and I was just going to bring it up here so I can say who it was, because I posted it up on our messenger. Danny Bates, he wrote a personal message for saying that he was going to donate even though he couldn't make the race. So we appreciate that, Danny, and I'm sure Chris and Samantha really do. And they just need the support they can get.
Yeah, and the good news, it looks like the GoFundMe amount is going to be enough to get them, at least help them get moved. So it looks like it's going to be a success. So we're happy to help Samantha and hope she feels better. All right, let's keep moving. I got the next one, actually. Today it was announced that the team owners and NASCAR and everyone have voted and decided that the 2019 NASCAR rules are going to change for the NASCAR Sprint Cup car. They're going to run the what they call the All-Star package that they ran last Charlotte in the spring at the All-Star race, where they tapered the spacers or put restrictor plates on them and did some different venting with vents and whatnot. What is your guys' reaction to this news?
Not real ecstatic about it, honestly. I don't think that's the direction they need to go to fix the racing. And really, the racing's been pretty good these last couple of years, in my opinion. It sounds like something a little bit too drastic. maybe something like it worked okay in the All-Star race. Maybe something to have at a couple of tracks like the All-Star race. But man, it sounds like a bad idea. But I don't know. I'm assuming they've tested it. Maybe they have to know more than us, I would hope.
Boy, it's crazy, to think about that they want to do that on all tracks next year, even small tracks.
Which doesn't make any sense. That seems like it's like what's it gonna do on the road courses, or this like
Right.
or a track that like Martinsville where you get down to low speeds and then you got to try and get back up to a speed with a restrictor.
Well, I'm hoping that maybe the plates are always there, but maybe they're not always used. I mean, maybe they won't be used at a short track, but maybe they'll always be there. So if they decide on a Saturday they want to, tune something out of the motor, they can. Yeah, I can't understand using a plate at a short track. That sounds terrible.
I think they're just trying to find a way to deal with aero push, which has been an issue for 20 years. Uh, I personally don't look forward to it. I think it's going to make the cars even more equal, and that's the reason passing is so hard is because everybody's so equal.
Well,
And yeah, I want to talk about how does that affect us on the iRacing side too. And how it does is if NASCAR permanently changes the car package like that, iRacing is soon to follow. We're going to have the changes in 5 or 6 months after. So next summer, we'll end up getting this new car that's a restrictor plate every week. And so that means we're going to be racing it. Now, my perspective is I think I would actually probably excel at that kind of racing just based on how I race at restrictor plates now. But I don't think it's a good idea. I like how hard the car is. That's why I like the A car, is because it's so freaking hard to drive.
well, is this also going to cause a problem where what's the point in having three pedal systems now? You don't need the brake pedal anymore. You're just going to be floating it into the corner anyways. Like I think teams are building these cars to disrupt the air so bad on the next car, and like David said, they're so close together that you know they're trying to sabotage the next guy's car with the air coming off their car.
Yeah, we had a good discussion earlier amongst the team about this, and everybody had a similar reaction. I think it was not great news. If you follow NASCAR people on Twitter, I can guarantee you that the fans don't agree with this. I can't see any fans that really like this. They're in the smallest minority.
I don't understand how car owners would be for this as well. I mean, they're gonna tear up a lot of stuff. The only person I could see being okay with this is the guy selling them sheet metal. I mean, they got Danica and Trevor Bayne to retire. They're like, man, we're gonna go out of business here. Let's put some restrictor plates on these bad boys every week. So I don't get it. Um, Sometimes you gotta take a step backwards to make a step forward. I mean, I hope it's good. Don't think it is, and if it's not good, I hope NASCAR would change. But they don't really go back on their decisions very often.
The only thing they ever did was
Very
the
thankful.
COT with the wing, and that's
Well,
what'll
it took them
happen.
years to get away from that, though.
No, they got rid of the wing off of halfway through the season. They took the wing
Right.
off once they had run it, and realized that last incident between Carl and Brad when he flipped him on at Atlanta was the last straw.
Yeah, but that safety wise, I see them making changes. But we got the splitter during the era of the COT, and we've had it ever since. And I think there's a lot of discussion about that being what causes a lot more of these aero issues. So, and I mean, they haven't got rid of it yet. I think if you poll 100 NASCAR fans, half of them are going to say take the splitter off. And if you poll 100 drivers, are going to say the same thing. It's I don't. That seems to be the common consensus, and NASCAR's like, hey, let's put a restrictor plate on this thing. I don't get it.
An interesting part of the discussion was brought up back when not front row, Furniture Row announced they were quitting, and there was, I think it was not a Wallace boy, it was the Toyota owner that got busted for the jet fuel. I'm so bad with names.
Waltrip.
Yeah, Waltrip. He posted about basically it's just getting too expensive to run the cars the way they are, and he basically essentially said that there is nothing stock about the car, and I'm wondering how much more stock are sports cars? You know, I drive the GTE a lot, and I'm wondering if those cars are that much more close to an actual stock car, and because that aero push just doesn't seem to kick in as much in those cars.
Yeah.
I think on the GT cars though, the thing is the equalizer is the driving aspect of it, whereas in the oval side you can be a little bit slower and still screw up somebody's line and still keep a position, right?
You can make it, you can defend and make it hard on a road course too. It's just it's not as packed tight. You're not around people as much.
Well, another question is who's driving this change? Brian Friends is gone. He's out boozing it up somewhere. Uh, we have a new guy that's supposedly the head of NASCAR, the uncle. Is he driving this, or we know the drivers aren't driving this? None of the drivers have come out saying they like this. Most of them are against it. I think most of the fan base is against it. So who is driving it? I mean, we did hear that NASCAR is up for sale, and maybe NBC is interested in buying it. Is it NBC, the TV package, that's driving it?
Well, sorry, if that's the case, from my take on this, if they're gonna do it, it's gonna seem like all the, you know, let's say all the mile and a halves are gonna technically be the same freaking race. That's how I see it, anyways. Correct me if I'm wrong, but why would you want that from a broadcasting standpoint?
I don't know, but I'm not real pleased about the whole announcement. But we'll see. It's not official or anything like that, but it is from a very good source.
Well, if nothing else, it's going to give us something to bitch about for the whole off season. So they got that going for it. We're talking about it.
Yeah, and then how fast will iRacing follow suit is always the question.
Well, does that mean they're gonna call it we got the tire model, so now you gotta have the aero model?
Well, I'm sure it's just a few tweaks to get it to the new package. They put in the Daytona Talladega engine, they put it in a different gear. Yeah, the arrow's going to change a little.
They gotta make
Alright.
the draft a little bit better then if they're gonna do that, like depending on what it's gonna be, because even Daytona and them are still have some problems with the way the draft works.
Yeah. All right, let's get into hardware software. Greg, you're up first.
Okay, so this is the first I've seen this, but iRacer, I guess Jokin Rinnick, I'm sorry for your name, man. I'm sorry about how I said that. Posting the forums, the project, it's a beta test on do-it-yourself motion setup. Now, I looked at this and I was like trying to figure out what he was doing, and then I realized, oh, okay, so you buy the actuators from them as well as the software, and you can build it yourself onto your own rig. It shows that I guess $500 US. Is that for one actuator or all the
Each,
actuators?
yeah,
Is each?
each.
So you're looking at $2,000 to
You need 4.
try and outfit your rig, but it's got all the plans and stuff on how to use it for yourself. And you can. It's actually a very interesting post watching how it works, but you got to set it up with. I guess they have their own software they're selling, but I don't know. What do you guys think about doing your own do-it-yourself one, adding to your own rig?
I love it. That's absolutely awesome.
Boy, it looks awesome.
I'm sure it's not just as simple as a plug and play, but I guess building your own rig, and now you get to add motion to it, and it's still kind of expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't. I think it's a great idea. It'd be a lot of fun.
And for a fraction of the cost that we normally talk about, and we have a lot of different sim rigs that we're going to talk about, but motion rigs, but this one is awesome. If you look at the video and how it moves around as he's driving, I'm just mesmerized by it, the way it looks. And he's got an 80/20 rig that's just sitting on these 4 hydraulic posts, basically. And the posts move up and down, moving the 4 corners of the rig, and it makes it simulate the car moving around. Now, this setup is unique because the monitors do not move. The monitors are stationary on the ground in front of him. But this would be awesome for a VR setup, too.
But there's probably possibility with that setup he's got, you could mount a monitor to it.
Yeah.
He's actually running VR. In that rig, you can't see it on his head,
Oh, I see.
but the way, like when you watch the monitor
You can
itself,
see the cable.
yeah, you can see the way it moves around and everything is definitely VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one point there, he lifts up the VR you can see it lift up.
So, Tony, you feel like you could build this if you followed these plans and stuff, if you had the 2K?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like, I'm sure, I wouldn't be able to sit down and just do it in a day. It'd be something I'd have to research and learn and get my head wrapped around it. But, I love that stuff. Like I built my own button box, I built my rig, and I'm working on, building a handbrake and a sequential shifter. And I'm doing it as cheap and kind of rudimentary as possible. Now, this is obviously more than that, but yeah, I love to sink my teeth into stuff like that, and kind of work out the little kinks and my stuff may not look all that good, but it definitely works well.
This would be a great upgrade. Yeah. If you want to find out more information, search the forums for DIY Motion. All right, Chris, you're next.
Next, we have a lightly used open wheel cockpit for sale. iRacer Mark Lutz posted a carbon fiber open wheel cockpit for sale. The rig includes a Bodner sim steering direct drive, force feedback base, no wheel, and chassis mounted triple monitor mount. All for $4,000. That doesn't really sound like much in the description, but it's actually a pretty nice rig. It doesn't look particularly comfortable, but it looks very realistic.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sit on that without any foam because that would be probably uncomfortable after a long race.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like it has hydraulic pedals, but what are those giant? So you can see them in the bottom of the rig, but they have those giant hydraulic lines that look like coming over to the right hand side of the chassis. What's that for?
I don't know. Leftover from the real car, maybe.
Yeah, I think it has to do with like a front to rear brake bias. Maybe it's a bike bypass or
Oh
something.
yeah, just left over from the actual car itself.
Yeah, because this is an actual race car tub, so to speak.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he tried or showed this rig on here, not the rig, but the tub itself, for sale a while back. Mark does the fast track sims, and if I'm ever gonna buy a new rig, that's definitely where I'm gonna get mine. His rigs are really, really beautiful machines. So if you're into open wheel racing, that's a nice rig to get right there.
I was gonna say how crazy is the racing that it needs a roll bar?
Yeah,
Well, that's
so
for when that's for when he orders that motion setup, right?
now you see the post from Mark Lutz. Click on his signature below his post. He actually is involved with the fasttracksims.com, and they have an awesome
Holy
cockpit.
crap.
I mean, check that baby out.
So, you guys are saying about the comfort of this cockpit. Now, a buddy of mine is needing a little bit he just needed to get away. So him and we took a 2-hour trip to go karting because I mean, when you need to blow off some steam, what better way to do that? So, in our area, the fastest ones that that I know of have this. It's like an F1 style seat where you kind of tubbed out like this, and yes, you got a little bit of padding, but man, I tell you, I could sit in that thing all friggin' day, and well, I was in there for a solid 2.5 hours. Anyways, we blew a fair amount of money turning laps. That was great.
Nice.
Yeah, when I used to race speedway sprints, I used to have aluminum seat with no padding, and that thing was the most comfortable thing in the world because when you were in it, you were fully in it. There was really no movement or wiggling around. It looked uncomfortable, and when you're racing, you're hitting some bumps. It could be a little rough, but when you're just sitting there, a good racing seat, man, that's the best seat in the world right there.
Yeah, he's got a cool website, fasttracksims.com. Lots of stuff for sale: pedals, cockpits, three-way monitor mounts, seats, all kinds of cool stuff. I'm just like a kid in a candy store looking at this stuff. Pretty cool. So check that out. All right, next up, let's keep moving, is me. I'm going to talk about an email from Ben. Again, he sent us an email last week telling us how to set aside our INIs as we switch between triples and VR. And he said I left out an important step, and he wanted to point that out. He said if the listener keeps the two files named as the render DX11 VR and render DX11 monitor, then iRacing will not use either and will automatically create a new one called renderdx11.ini file. You need to decide which edited INI file to use and rename it back to renderdx11.ini each time you change it. So he's saying you got to take the file and drop it into the folder and rename it back to the original name, renderdx11.ini. So don't forget that step.
So basically, you have those two files made as those, so you know which one's which. But when you put it back
Right.
in the file, you have to put it back to render direct 11 in INI. It has to always be named that.
Yep. And he did confirm also that you can have all triples plugged in and VR at the same time with the GTX 1080 Ti.
I think the non-TI has enough ins and outs too, because I've got a non-TI, just a regular 1080, and it's got 5 different outputs.
Okay.
Yeah, same on the 1070.
All right, Will, you're next.
Yeah, so there seems to be a Netgear router issue going about. Nicholas Bailey of the iRacing staff posted in the forums. There's a lot of people posting about these issues with these Netgear routers, even on Netgear site directly. So if you're having an issue, you want to reach out to Netgear, because this is
That kind
something
of
with their
cancer.
firmware or software that's causing these issues on these games, and it's kind of really out of iRacing's hand at the moment. So if you're having network issues and you have a Netgear router, I definitely reach out to Netgear, try to get the ball rolling on that. Maybe they get enough complaints from gamers who those guys love their internet. They'll get this thing fixed pretty quick.
I have that exact router. I haven't had any problems. Yeah, and Netgear
Certain
Nighthawk.
models, I think.
Well, that's actually kind of good because I believe I'm going to be in the market for a new router here shortly. I just found out mine's old and no longer being supported. So by this post, and I know we've talked about this in the past, I think I definitely need to stay away from Netgear.
I've got a Netgear and haven't had any problems with my wired connection, but mine's an older router too that's due to be replaced pretty soon, and I'm having issues with the Wi-Fi connection dying quite a bit, even though the wired connection stays stable.
The truth is, where I live, it's hard not to buy a Netgear. I mean, that's all they sell in a lot of electronics stores, like Best Buy. You walk into a Best Buy, yeah, all they have is Netgear.
Yeah, you'll get, I think, like
I
5
never paid attention
Netgears
to that.
and a Linksys or an Asus. I have the Linksys, so
But they
yeah,
really push it. They push a certain brand, yeah.
yeah, that's what we got. We got the most training on, so that's what a lot of people will speak to. But yeah, definitely do your research. I have Linksys, and I love it. Um, I I hate Wi-Fi issues, so you gotta be careful about that.
Okay. Greg, you're up next.
All right, so it looks like iRacing has added a protest tracker now. So I guess when you're in the support.iracing.com, you can track any protests that you have sent out. And looks I might be needing to use this today, so this will be interesting to see what happens from it. But that's the first I've seen it. What do you guys think of them adding something where you can follow it now.
I think it's appropriate. I mean, you can see it in writing what the status is of a protest that you're involved with. Either you're getting protested or you protested somebody else. You're going to see both of those entries there. Now, to find us, you go to support.iracing.com, and across the top, you'll see tickets. Click on that, and then where it says all ticket, or down below, there's a drop down. You got to make sure to select all tickets.
Phew, I got no protests against me.
There you go. But when you click into one, you'll see information about it. Like I protested a guy a while back for intentionally wrecking during, I think it was a Carb Cup race or something. And when I click on it, it shows the date and time. It shows the name of the driver I protested as well as his driver ID, the session link to the results, which violation it was, and then an attachment to the actual replay as well. And it even shows who from iRacing worked the case, which was always a mystery until now. But and you think it's always Nim Cross, but it's not. This particular one was done by Samuel Roush.
User entered your channel.
So pretty cool. Check that out if you're interested.
No.
All right, let's jump. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do they stay in there for all the time, or do they disappear once it's done?
Well, it looks like there's different categories. You can look at open or pending or resolved and closed.
Okay, so there's like, it just like files it into its own area.
Yeah, I have one where I processed only one guy, but it was 8 months ago. I forgot the guy's name until now, so now I remember who to watch out for.
There you go. All right, next up is results. Let's finish off Richmond. Wow, Thursday fixed I ran. I wrecked out bad. I mean, I suck at Richmond. I don't know what it was, but I just had a terrible time. And then Sunday fix, I also got DQ'd out from too many incidents, actually, because I was just coming off late off the corner and getting loose and then slapping the wall off a 4. I'd like overcorrect and it bounce off the wall and I'm done. Our teammate Steve Llewellyn got a P1 in NIS on Friday Open. He started 7th, spun hit on his own twice, but drove back both times. Last time was lap 140. He stayed out when everyone pitted and stayed P1 till the end. And so he stayed out with a ton of laps left and just rode it out, and it worked because it was one caution after another. So pretty cool. Hey, you guys have any other thoughts about Richmond before we talk Charlotte?
I enjoyed Richmond.
Really? What was your best run?
Thursday night, I pulled off a third. I was running top 5 mostly, and at Richmond, for some reason, I was really good on the restarts and would always gain a couple of spots. Then Sunday night was pretty crazy. I had a crash on lap 2. The game just crashed. I'm 5 laps down and don't get my last lap back until 2 laps to go and race from 16th to 10th.
Yeah, you were down
Good job.
laps for a while there, and you eventually got them back. I think you just persevered, right?
Yeah, I was just, I had really just given up. I was like, I'm just going to try to, gain positions by attrition, and people kept falling and people kept falling. I finally got 2 waiver rounds, and then I got, or actually 2 or 3 waiver rounds, and got 2 of the, finally got in position for the last 2 lucky dogs and pulled in, with that last lucky dog. It was literally a green-white checkered. And I was not damaged. I was running in the front all night. Just couldn't get in position for the waiver rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve Llewellyn, he had some good runs. He had a win. He had a P2 on Saturday morning. So he was probably the best of us at Richmond. Let's talk Charlotte. Yesterday, I ran fixed. P9, actually. I wasn't fast, but I did run between 10th and 20th all day. I actually slid through my pit box many different times on pit road. I don't know why it was so slick or what I was doing wrong there, but still happy with a top 10. Man, that was great. Tony Rochette also ran that day, P22. He had a problem with his computer where the screen froze. It smashed the wall during the screen being frozen, and ended, while he was running top 10, and so it was a rough day for him. And then last night, Wednesday Open, I got a P13. It was a long run at the end. I kept going through the grass, but somehow held on for a P13. Tony, boy, you had the worst race I could probably ever guess, right?
Yeah. I don't think it gets any worse than what I experienced last night. And let me put it out, fellas, I apologize for the rage that I went on. I should have just I just keyed, and I should have just stayed off it and just screamed at my walls. I was hot. I was really hot over it. So what happened is, you know, bottom split shenanigans. Like lap 3, there's a wreck. These two guys are like right in the middle of the track. I go down to go around it. They let off the brakes. They catch me. Um, my car's done. I'm smoking. I make it make it to the pits, and almost into my pit box, and my motor blows. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Hey, that's good. I'll just, take the hit, and I'll get back out, throw some laps down. I wasn't in my pit box, so it wouldn't start. I had to adjust a little bit. Well, I got a blown motor. Okay, I guess I got a tow. I couldn't tow. That was it. I was done. I had to take my P31, and I got hammered with iRating. That was 100 iRating hit, so that's going to take me a while to get back. But yeah, sucked completely.
So you were like a foot out of the box or something, or inches out of the box?
Yeah, I would say inches out of the box. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is not happening.
Yeah, if your engine's gone and you're rolling into your pit box and you don't hit your marks and you slide through it, you're done because it won't tow you, right?
Yeah. Well, it was telling me like, okay, you got to tow, but I back out to go get the tow, and no, it just there was just no towing option. It just would not let me.
Oh, sorry, viewers.
And you can't get a push
Oh, you
either,
are.
probably because you're in the box.
Right. Yeah,
That's
goes
right.
through.
Yep.
We were trying to come up with all ideas. Hammer said, "Oh, try to put it in gear and hit your starter button."
Oh yeah. I was mashing that starter button like you wouldn't believe, and yeah, just nope, nothing worked. I just had to back out and go lick my wounds.
All right. Teammate Michael Morley I think he got a P6 if I recall. And then Chris, you got P15.
Yeah, and that's why I should put my results down as soon as the race is over, because it was just last night, and I don't remember much about it other than just that I wasn't in the split with Tony. We were 25 points difference in iRating, and I ended up one split up in the 32 car, and I remember what happened to the car, but it was just kind of riding around most of the race. But P15 still got me
Not a bad result.
Yeah, positive IR because I was such a low car number, so I'll take it. Yeah, it beats, like I said, it could have been Tony's run, like just start the race and get wrecked, no follow your own, run to a glitch, and so yeah, he'll take a P15 after you see a teammate, after something like that happens to a teammate.
So track tip last night was 96, something like that, and today when we ran Thursday Open, 120. I think it went up to 122 at one point.
Yeah, that was nuts. You would think. I think it was teammate Michael Morley the other day, that you think if they weren't going to give us the Roval, at least they could have gave us a late afternoon start or something. I mean, the track temperatures been kind of nuts. That one last night was actually pretty cool. Most of them have been probably around the 111, 115. I think the afternoon one today was one of the most extreme I've seen.
That's got to be the hottest temp I've seen raced in race trim.
Some like it hot.
It was slick, I tell you what. So the Thursday Open, I wrecked out with 30 to go. I could not miss it. I was running 10th most of the day. Very happy with my run. I was in the top split. I was not fading very much on old tires like usual. Teammate Mike Morley, he was worried about this guy. He told me, I forget the guy's name, but he kept saying, okay, this guy was recently banned from iRacing and he's back. Watch out. And so he's racing next to this guy. He's on the inside. The guy hits the wall going down the backstretch, not even in the corner, and bounces off the wall into Mike Morley. Mike Morley goes flying across the track. I go as low as I can, and he still clipped me, and I got taken out, blown engine. So probably P30. I didn't even look. I was wrecked out, blown engine. Let's move on to Greg. Boy, you had an unusual race with a win. How about that?
Yeah, it was my first win this year. Actually, my first NAS win. It's been my first win since I think it was 2011. If I ever at last look, is my last win.
Finally, breakthrough.
Broke through finally because it was my first season competing in NIS since I came back. And I was, top 4 all race. I led 100 and I think it was 116 laps. I think I said it was. Sorry, 113 laps, and was pretty much the lead, the car that was supposed to win that race. I should have won that race, and I did, but I had some charging from the end there from Greg Girk. He was coming after me, and I didn't do what I normally do and screw it up. So I felt a lot better this time than normal. I've had a lot better finishes the last little bit here, and I think it's starting to come along.
Now, total caution fest, and the big discussion during your race was, when do I pit for tires? When do I pit for tires? And you were staying out all the time. So tell us how often you were staying out, and how long did you stay out, before you decided to pit finally?
Well, there was one point there where there was cautions coming. I think we had 6 cautions in a row, and I was like, I'm not going down, I'm not going down. But I think on the second caution of those 6, guys behind me went down, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of a sitting duck here. But then the cautions kept coming up. By the time we got a further on caution that was to give the tires all back to equal, I probably had almost 50 laps on the tires with the caution laps, and I was able to stay in second place against the new tires. But it was so hard because last week when I was doing Richmond, I was mad because I couldn't get back onto the same tire strategy as everybody else because of all the cautions. And then this week I thought it was going to happen again, where I was going to have a good car and lose the race because I couldn't figure out what I want to do. Because I was like, I should pit this one time, and then as someone said maybe not, so I stayed out, and then I could just see everybody go behind me going down pit road, and I was like, yeah, I should have gone.
Yeah, well, good win. Congratulations. Now, in your split were also several teammates, Chris and Bobby Jonas and
Flowers.
and David Flowers, and everybody else got wrecked. Chris, tell us about your race.
Yeah, I don't even know. I was actually running right with Bobby, and we both got caught up in the same wreck. And it was a good chunk of the field. Actually, it was just cars everywhere. I thought I was through it actually, and just somebody got in my right rear and spun me around, and had a couple minutes damage. Went a lap down, and man, it didn't matter what I did. I just couldn't get back on the lead lap. I think I took a wave around at one point, but that was like our one green flag run, and I ended up having to I ended up just losing it to Greg because he was so freaking fast, and I was on my old tires, and I think we had another one when I would have got it back, but we had a caution before the green flag pretty much came out, and it made a bunch of us go and a lap down. So it was a struggle, but it still ended up with a decent finish at 8th just because of the attrition.
Now, you guys started on pit road, and you regretted that, right?
It worked out okay for me.
It was 3 laps too much for it to work out for them. If I remember correctly, the guys caught them with just before the caution came out.
Oh,
Yeah, I was okay. The leader was definitely running me down. We actually did have, that was probably one of the best runs of the race, is right when the green came out. We actually had a few laps, and I just about did end up going a lap down right there at the beginning. But yeah, from then on, once we got bunched up, it was a mess for the most part. Particularly, we had a couple of guys that we can. It's bad you can call these guys out before the race and say, "Watch out for this guy." But I mean, it was just guys that have they're pretty quick for the most part, but just stupid racecraft. They're last down and getting runs so they can go flying up through the center of the field. Right through the middle of the two rows of cars. Like,
you have to be careful with that. That's very protestable if you are going faster than the leader when the green comes out. You have to be the same speed as that leader, or you're going to be protested.
Well, and there's a protest coming for one of the guys in that race from some of us here because of what they were trying to do under caution.
Yeah, you got to police these rooms, guys, especially that bottom split. All right, well, that was Charlotte, which continues on. Let's talk about the setup just a little bit. I mean, the setup today was just awesome. And boy, what a collaborative effort. I mean, I think a bunch of different people had their hands on that. James, you joined us. Tell us about the set. You there? Okay, maybe he's not there. But I think it started with Hammer, and then Mike Morley was working on it. James Wallace took a stab at it. So
What I do have to say is I know Mike Morley took the week off last week to work not Richmond because he didn't have the track and he wanted to take the week off. And he was working on Charlotte all last week plus coming into this week, and the foundation that he set and then having some of us test with him and help him figure out what we're feeling compared to what he's feeling and the different versions off of which we had. Like we had different options today going into the race, and that's what we've been missing the last little bit is 3 or 4 different options where we all could all feel comfortable, and that's where today's ended up, whereas we had that choice.
Yeah, and the set was great.
Yeah, Greg and I were actually running different sets, and both of them were quick. Greg's, I don't know, he's faster, a little bit faster than I am anyway, so it's hard to say how much was him and how much was the set. But before the car was tore up, actually, when I was at the beginning there, when I was trying to outrun the leader, it was only Greg and the leader that were quicker than I was there at the beginning. Bobby and I were staying ahead of actually pulling away from the other guys, just couldn't get away from those two. So, I mean, we had 2 sets that were, different sets that were the same, at a good speed. It's nice to have that many sets to choose from, and they're all, pretty quick.
Oh. All right, Dover's next week. What do you guys think about Dover? Self-cleaning racetrack. I'm not real fast there, but by memory, I think I usually have good results.
Dover's a slick track if it gets hot. That's the worst part. If they put a hot temperature in, that's not going to be fun because the way you come off the corner, the car lifts up, and if you have no tracks, not on that track, it wants to spin coming out of 2 and 4.
Yeah, you almost have to wait till you're up over the hump before you get back on that gas.
And diamonding tends to work for me to help with that.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna miss Wednesday night's race because we're gonna all be racing that our charity race. So.
Yep, that means I only get 1 start in the Open next week, so that'll be Thursday morning. But we'll do it. Let's talk league racing next. Chris and Tony, you ran the Old Bastards Saturday morning Xfinity race. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I ran that one, and man, those guys are such clean racers. I mean, I was only able to run 2 NIS races last week at Richmond, but between those 2 races, there was 36 cautions. In that Xfinity League race, they said it's I think it's a 60% length, something like that. It's a long race, and we had 2 cautions. and I caused one of them. I was racing hard with for the lucky dog actually, I think, and just barely got into a guy's door and turned him and caused one of the two cautions. That race, I mean, I don't. There probably wasn't maybe a minute or two of breathing time during that race. I mean, I was always racing with somebody. I mean, it was a blast, and racing for I don't know 15th or something like that. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we lost you, Tony.
Yeah, sorry. My race, I did the Monday night ARCA race. I didn't put that into the script very well. And I'm pretty sure I finished P13. Like Chris, I should have wrote it down as soon as I got finished up, but I didn't. Anyway, this is we were racing at Milwaukee Mile. It's a 100-lap race, and there's 9 incident points, which is like just totally outside. Like, that is just totally crazy to me. I ended up getting DQ'd with like 2 laps to go, and I got caught in 2 wrecks. Thankfully, neither one of them. It was just guys wrecking, and I got caught in it. But I did tap the wall hard enough to give myself a 2x, and had I not done that, I'm extremely confident I would have been able to pull off a top 10 because I would have been able to finish that race. But yeah, those guys are clean. Milwaukee Mile, it's a short track, and we had almost 30 guys racing 100 laps, and there was just a couple of cautions. They're so much fun. I've really been enjoying it.
Now,
Yep.
Tony and Chris, I know Tony, you just started racing with them, and Chris, you've been racing with the Old Bastards for a bit. What do you think contributes to why there are not very many cautions in there with those guys, or incidents?
I'm sure part of it's accountability to the league, so they do have penalties if for bad racecraft, and they do if you step out of line too many times, then you won't be in the league. But I mean, they're not super strict. I mean, all you have to do is not be an idiot, pretty much. But I think the biggest part is just the accountability. I mean, you'll race some of the same guys, racing NIS or racing the official racing, but with a league, you're racing those same guys every single week, and you're going to keep seeing that same guy every single week. So you don't want to get wrecked, then you don't wreck them. Race like you want to be raced, and for whatever reason, NIS it just isn't that, man. It's just balls out for like 3/4 of the field. It seems like.
Yeah, and the Old Bastards Racing League has been really good for our podcast. We've actually driven our podcast numbers up ever since being associated with them. So we're real happy to be involved with the Old Bastards. All right, cool. Let's keep moving. We're out of time. Matt Busa wins his first peak antifreeze iRacing Series win in his 6th season in peak. And boy, he finally broke through. This kid is fast, and I was kind of surprised that it is his first win, considering.
Yeah, I used to race with Matt a lot back in 2011 when I was on a lot more. He was huge in the A-Car series before the NAS and Peak series went around. I think he's been a pro for at least 8 or 9 years anyways. He's probably at least 8 years been a pro.
Yeah, so congrats to him. And also, another peak driver, Zach Novak, who's only 16 years old, he wins the NASCAR Ignite Series Championship. I watched this last night, and it was an interesting Legends race and at Martinsville. And there was a lot of carnage going on. There was a lot of wrecking. Not really on purpose kind of thing, but, people were getting taken out, and they couldn't do anything about it. Because if you didn't, win your heat race or get advanced to the main feature, and if you got taken out, there's no caution, so you're not going to get back up there. So, but regardless, Zach Novak won it, and that's 10 grand plus tons of other prizes from NASCAR, including a big trophy.
Hey, congrats to him. That's awesome. That was a really nice prize package, and cool thing they did. I hope that they keep doing it and start adding more stuff to their their esport lineup.
Yeah, at the beginning of the broadcast, they had a guy from NASCAR on there, and they were talking about, hey, we're using this as a feeder series into NASCAR. We're going to invite this winners, which ended up being Zach Novak, to a combine, like a driver talent pool contest where they bring a bunch of young drivers out, they put them in a car and let them do some laps and basically test out for a shot. And so they're going to give him that shot as well, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's jump into the final thoughts. Chris Scales, what do you got?
It's been a pretty good time this week at Charlotte. We have some good sets. I know Morley's pretty excited about Dover next week too, so hopefully that translates into a whole lot more practice time instead of work, because it was a heck of a car this week. But yeah, I want to appreciate all the time he's put in on that thing. I know he has put a lot of laps on the track this week.
Yeah, and it paid off. I mean, the set was just great. So
yeah, a ton of guys have worked on it, but I think him in particular, like, he has really dumped a lot into that set.
All right, David Hall, final thought.
Well, I was sitting here looking up the GoFundMe account for the charity race, and I was surprised to see my home state on the list. Chris, I didn't realize we lived in the same state.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so now, or where we're trying to move back to in Indiana.
Oh, good point. Yeah, no, I actually have family that live over in Bentonville, the Walmart capital.
Oh, yep. That's where we've been for about 4 or 5 years now.
I hate that you're going to be leaving, because it is a nice place, but I understand.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, David, about the charity event. If you guys need to want to get involved, we still have seats available. We're trying to fill the last few spots, so please, please, please enter. GoFundMe, search Samantha Marie Round 4, and then email Greg. All right, Greg, you're next.
They can email me at frozencactus@gmail.com, frozen with 2 O's, cactus with 2 K's. And my final thought this week, well, I only had one NAS race that I was going to be able to go in this week, so what a one to win, I guess. And I want to thank Mike for that one too, because he did do a lot of work with the set and everything, but he also he had a pep talk with me saying that he believed that I could win, and I want to thank him for at least talking to me about it and going over some stuff. So he said I was on the verge of winning, and I guess he was right. So thanks for that. Anybody can follow me on Twitch at Frozen Cactus. So twitch.tv/Frozen Cactus, and I look forward to seeing what the results for the rest of the team go, especially with these sets this week.
Yeah, let's get it. Tony Groves, final thought.
Well, I didn't do one start at Richmond last week, and I don't regret that decision at all. The other thing that kind of made me hot about that start yesterday was that set was so good, and I put a bunch of practice time in myself. Anyways, let's move on. I'm gonna be shooting to run tomorrow night, and we'll see Sunday if I can make it happen. Other than that, I'm looking forward to that fundraiser race next week. I've been doing a lot of smack talking on TeamSpeak here whenever I get on, and looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. I love that track, and it'll be a race where I'll actually be able to race with all you guys all at the same time. I think I don't know if that's ever happened or not.
Right, that'll be fun. So yeah, and guys, come out to the charity event. We're actually thinking about using that too as a idea of who to invite to our new league that we're trying to get off the ground here at Tifosi Racing. We're thinking about starting a league, and if you're involved in the charity event and we like how you run, you're going to be one of the first people to be invited to the league. So keep that in mind too. Will Gibson, final thoughts.
No, just excited. I got rid of my Oculus and going back to triple monitors.
What?
I watched about 50 videos this week on how to get these things set up right, and man, when you have it set up right, it looks great, feels good, and my face isn't on fire after a 30 lap run. So you guys should be hearing about my results more and more soon as I hop back in the car a little more often. And hope you guys enjoyed the podcast this week. I had a lot of fun today cleaning the script up, and glad to be back. I know I haven't been racing as much, picking up some of my other responsibilities here on the team, but yeah, be back in the car real soon, and hopefully um, don't cause the first caution.
Yeah, you welcome back for sure. I mean, you make a big difference in the podcast script. It makes it a lot easier for these guys to decipher what we're trying to talk about. And I know we've struggled the last few weeks without you. So yeah, welcome back. My final thoughts, boy, Richmond sucked. I sucked there. I don't know what the deal was, but Charlotte, I felt really good. I mean, I was running top 10. I wasn't fading very as much on older tires. And I felt pretty good about it. And so, uh, looking forward to running Charlotte at Sunday night and Dover next week. So, with that, we'll see you later.
User in your channel.
Okay,
stopped
clear. Title
recording.
idea.
All right, we're out for this week. Well, we have 2 wins this week between me. I have one, and so does. That's a double win week, though. We got one with Steve too. First time NIS winner. Okay, do you still want to send me the email and then I can send you the thing, all the details? Uh, Here, you know what, I'll send it through the chat. You can send it to that email. All right, everybody, we're out.